All right, good evening. How's everybody?
Good.
Good. Talk about a couple homework things. The case studies were generally okay. Some were really good. What I want you to focus on, what are the key issues in that case? And in the Starbucks, what were the key issues? Number one, international growth opportunities, and it is an international thing. How to appeal to different cultures with products and services. There was something about the employees' discontent, and that there was also about saturation of the U.S. market. I didn't know the thing about the real estate. A lot of people pointed out what they do on real estate to keep competitors out. That was surprising to me. Is that ethical? Okay. So next week, you have another summary to do. And it's on, I think, is it Coke or Pepsi? Coke and Pepsi. And you also, the thing that also is due is the questions to the Starbucks case, and we're going to work on class, and then we have another quiz. Okay, and everybody's doing real well on the quizzes. And I've gone through what they call item analysis, and not everybody's getting the same question, but it's not certain questions that people are getting wrong. The worst I saw was on one of the tests, one of the questions, only 63% got it wrong. Most of them, the lowest numbers like 80, 84% get it right. All right. So what we're going to do today, we're going to break out first and work on the case study questions, and we're going to do that till, I'll give you till 10 after 8. Okay. Then I'm going to come back in for 20 minutes. And I'm going to do a quick PowerPoint, and then we're going to go back out again, and you guys can talk about your semester project. Okay? So remember, if you're here tonight, you only need one team submission for the case study questions. If you're not here or not attending out there, you have to submit your own. Okay? So let's break out. Do that. Announcement. We have an executive lecture series, and we have something next Thursday. Is it Thursday? I think.
Yeah. 15th. Yep.
And this gentleman is quite impressive, Gary Kuna. He has his own company, Global, and a lot connected to the sports industry. And he's going to be doing a presentation, and it's available for everybody. And Matt put it right in our conference room, did you, Matt?
It's right above the conference room.
Right above the conference. It says Executive Lecture Series. And if you want to hear what he says and you can't make it, you can join right there on the WebEx. He's left a link for it. Okay? The WebEx. And I wanted to start doing some PowerPoints or doing some information in the class. So I got a short PowerPoint, and I'll put this up. So we already briefly talked about this in Chapter 1. Reasons why a company decides to enter foreign markets: access to new customers, lower costs through economies of scale, increase purchasing power, further exploit some of their core competencies, what I'm good at. I can do it here. I can do the same thing in other countries. Gain access to resource and capabilities located in foreign markets. So this is suggesting you're not only doing, you can go to foreign markets for production also, okay? To spread business risk across their wider market base. That's another reason. All right? Why is it more complex? Different countries have different home country advantages in different industries. And we just did 2 chapters, one on culture, and we also different management styles based on cultural differences. Location-based value chain advantages for certain countries. All right, so it may be easier for me to produce this here, but sell over here. And I got a short presentation on that. Differences in government policy, tax rates, and economic conditions. We'll be doing that in the next chapter. We'll be talking about political. Currency exchange risks and how to to protect against that. Differences in buyers' taste and preferences for products and services. And I think this case study on Starbucks goes into that a little bit, right? So we have to be aware of that. So key strategy decisions, okay? Do we want to have a standardized product, which makes things very easy for us? One product we sell everywhere, okay? But there's some issues with that. Versus the opposite end of the spectrum, do we customer offerings in each country market to match the taste and preferences of local buyers? So which do we do? Or do we do something in between? So that's going to be the key thing. And our cases are going to address the middle of the road mostly on these, okay? Starbucks is doing something similar in each of the global markets, but they're customizing to some global markets. And also, often this is where you see a regional approach. In this region, we can do the same strategy, right? So here's three major international approaches. One is a multi-domestic strategy, one is a global strategy, and one is a transnational strategy. All right, so we're looking at two things. Need for local responsiveness is one axis, and benefits from global integration and standardization. So one is talking about local adapt, one's talking about just doing the same thing. So if we don't need local responsiveness and we need the benefits of one integrated strategy, we call it a global strategy. Think global, act global. Everything's going to be the same, a global strategy. And then as we need more local responsiveness and still need some benefits from global integration, we use a transnational strategy. All right? We're thinking globally, but we're acting locally. And then further down the road is a multi-domestic strategy where we really need local responsiveness. There's not as much pressure for global integration. And that's called the multi-domestic strategy, which is think local and act local, okay? And we're going to see this in the simulation when we go into the simulation. So I've started to prepare you. This first 8 weeks is mainly about evaluating foreign countries, how you look at foreign countries. And this is going to be active how we market into foreign countries. So I want to get you up on as we slowly, we're going to be starting the simulation I think in week 8, okay? So here's the key things on the multi-domestic. So multi-domestic, remember, this is one where you think locally and act locally. Strategy and operating decisions are decentralized to strategic business units in each country. So each country is acting on its own, making decisions on its own. Products and services are tailored to the local markets, and business units in one country or one region are independent to the other. Okay? And we make the assumption markets differ by countries or regions. So we may be able to do the same thing for multiple countries in the same region. All right? And we focus on each market individually. All right? And this happens in Europe a lot because Europe, every country has unique culture, markets. All right, global strategy. Again, products are standardized. This is the one where you think globally and act globally, right? Products are standardized across national markets. Business level strategic decisions are usually centralized in the main office, home office. Strategic business units are now assumed to be interdependent. We work together, emphasizes economies of scale. Problem with this, it lacks responsiveness to local markets. That's the biggest problem. All right, we share resources and coordinate across borders. And the last one is the transnational. somewhere in the middle, seeks to achieve both global efficiency and global responsiveness, and it's difficult to achieve because you need strong central control and coordination to achieve efficiency, but you need decentralization to achieve local market responsiveness. All right, this is the transnational. All right. Here's some advantages and disadvantages. I'll put this up. We don't really have time for these. All right. You can look at them. Transnational. Of course, this is the one that's more complex and harder to implement. You have to do trade-offs. There's the global approach. I'm going to separate this into two different PowerPoints, and I'll put it in the briefcase because I got something separate coming up after this. All right, so I wanted to show you this. This is more in regards to what we're doing the first 8 weeks. And this is showing the top 10 exporters and importers in the world merchandise trade in 2012. Okay? And of course, China's the #1 exporter, and the United States is the #1 importer. And this export dependence, what you see, that's GDP times 100 times 100. So 16.6% of their GDP is based on exporting in China. You think it would be higher. When you look at Germany, it's up to 44.9%. All right? It also shows the value of their exporting per capita in US dollars. So Germany by far is most, the Netherlands are really export dependent. And this is surprising when you look at the US on the importing side. Import dependence is the same thing, imports divided by GDP times 100. So we're only 14.6% import dependence, which you think it would be higher. And so we're exporting $4,770 per U.S. person. We're importing $7,124 back in 2012. Okay? And China, if you look at it, they almost import as much as they exported in 2012. And this is percentages of the total, and China has, this was 2015, it's more updated. China has 13.8% of world merchandise trade on exporting. The U.S. has 13.8% of all importing in the world in 2015. Okay? The United Kingdom is the same on both. China is 10.1% of importing of all world merchandise trade. So they're 13.8 and 10. So remember, China almost imports as much as they export, but they import a whole lot of different, what they import is completely different from what they export. What they import is more related to infrastructure and allowing them to do what they do real well. All right, so that's that. This is interesting. I put this together. All right, this is total exports. I want to look at it in a couple different ways. And then total imports. And I got 3 countries, US, UK, and China. All right? First thing I'm looking at is trade balance. Trade balance is basically, do I export more than I import? And we talk about our negative trade balance in the US, and China has a positive trade balance. Well, there's trade balances. All right? But you can play with numbers, so another way to look at it is what is my imports to my exports? It's another way to look at this. All right? Ooh, I got a mistake there. China can have more. I did China's wrong, didn't I? Should be 1682 divided by 2275.
Looks like it's one, so it's exports to imports.
Hmm?
It's actually exports to imports, but it's like for all three of them.
It is exports to import, you're right. Yep. So we would want that number. One means you're exporting the same as you're importing. Okay, so that is correct. So China's 135. I took GDP, okay, for each of these three countries, and now I put GDP divided by global GDP. We are 30% of the world's GDP. England, or UK, 4.7. China, 18%. So we're still, in terms of GDP, over 50% bigger than China. So now we can look at it in a different way, too. What are total exports and total imports to GDP? So 8.2% of our GDP is based on exporting. It's pretty small, isn't it? 12.6% of our GDP is imports. And you can see that China is bigger in both areas. And so is the UK. All right? So are we export dependent as we think we are? All right. This is just a chart on GDP per capita ranking. You have that in all those other charts, those other links I gave you. You'll have access to that. And this is a Gini coefficient. Remember, the Gini coefficient has to do with distributional wealth. Can you click on this one? I think I like this one better than the other one we have. All right. So this goes from 0 to 100. 0 means you have total equality. Everybody in your country has the same amount of income. And 1 means it's total disparity. One person has everything of it. And if we click on a country, okay, it actually will do it over a period of time. So can we get to the U.S.? Should be there. Maybe not. Is there a map? There we go. So you can see from 1978, there's been a slight incline for us. And there's a big difference between 35 and 41%, between 35 and 41. So you hear the politicians and what we talk about distribution of wealth being a problem in the U.S. So, and I think it's even gone, I think when we looked at something in our first or the second class, when we looked at some of these charts, I think the U.S. was up to 45%, if I remember correctly. All right. And this has some other things you can do on this site too. Okay? What was that? I'm big on Gini coefficient. All right. So that's all I wanted to show you. I'll split that up into two. But there's different ways to look at imports and exports. Percentage of GDP, okay? What the value is. Is it almost 9:30? Yeah, we can go. We can go. So we know what we're doing next week. You got to get your short answers in. Only put the names of the people that participated in doing the project. And we have to do a summary of the Coke Pepsi case. And we got chapter 6, was it? Yeah, chapter 6 was it. Okay. And next class, I'm going to talk about what marketing is about, and particularly what marketing about is internationally. So if you ever took a marketing class, we're going to talk about segmenting, targeting, and promoting. All right, so we're going to talk about that. And that's going to, everything's preparing us for this simulation. The chapters themselves, I think you can learn on your own, and we're testing them with the knowledge quizzes.
Just quizzes, can you set it up so that we can review them after we're done?
You're getting 95 on 100 on it. What do you want to review?
I just want to know what I did wrong. What I did wrong.
Okay. I'll see if I can do that. How many have you gotten wrong?
Just the one, so, yes.
One question out of 3 tests?
I want to know what I did wrong, so I can,
Okay. I'll tell you what, before next week, I'll show you which ones you got wrong.
okay. Question. If you're,
The bonus is only one, huh? I did go through all the questions, too.
right.
If you like the Gini coefficient so much, do we get a curve in this class?
If you talk about the Gini coefficient?
No, you like it so much. Does that mean that we get a curve?
Oh,
bigger grade,
yeah,
or we
I'm a
distribute
little socialist.
it?
There you go, good, yeah.
All right, guys, have a good night.
Yeah.